So he just asked me, so where do you want to take this business?
Yep.
So he says, I looked at him, no flinch in his eyes.
Yep.
No flinch in my eyes. I told him I want to build $1 billion business in Africa, for Africa, by Africa.
Right.
So this is the first time it sort of got him like, huh? Then he said, sorry. He said, he looked at me, no flinching. I repeated the same thing.
Say the same thing.
And he's like, this guy is serious. Then he asked me, so where are you now? I told him, we make about $8,000 a month. So he said, at that point, he realizes this is not a job. I'm being called to a mission.
Right.
And he says, at that point, it dawned on him, I'm not being called to come and work in this dirty thing. I'm being called into a mission.
Right.
And when I look into this guy's eyes, he's not joking. So he asked me, so so how are you going to get to $1 billion? $1 billion.
Right.
I told him, look, David, I have no clue. I mean, that's why we are here.
Yeah, that's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. But I told him, we make $8,000.
Yeah.
This is driven by 30,000 customers who make us X dollars a month. For us to get to $1 billion, we need to scale that to 100 million customers who make us $1. And this is generally for us to get to $100 million, we need to take this thing, grow it in Kenya, and take it to a couple of other markets.
Right.
And then to get this thing from $1, we need to do this, do that, do that. No, that's how we get there. Whatever it is, we are going to build it together.
Right.
So I looked at him and I said, so are you going to join the team?
Right.
So he asked me how much he's going to pay and said, well, where are you coming from? So he had gotten an offer that same day to go and lecture accounts in Visions Institute, which was a good accounting school at the time.
Right.
And I think at the time he had, was earning 30K. I told him, 30K, we can't afford 30K. We can pay you 10K.
Yeah.
But I told him, but boss, you got to decide. Do you want to be a great lecturer that earns 100K, or do you want to be the CFO of $1 billion business in Africa in a few years? So
take a call.
Choice. Yeah. So I just told him, go home, think hard. Then, and if this is your mission, just come. Don't call me.
Just show up.
Just show up.
Yep.
And we do stuff. This is what the guy did.
Wow.
And so that's how you get talent, right? It's, you just trade with your vision and make it clear that we're going to build it together. But you have to be willing to share. You can't be, you can't be you're
holding everything to yourself.
Yeah, you're holding information.
Yep.
Whatever it is, people don't know how finances are doing. It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like because we have nothing.
We lay it all out.
Right. We have nothing but a vision.
Yeah.
But it's going to take 4 or 5 guys to build it. And if you do that, so today, out of the current leadership team, all of them are 13 years, 15 years, and whatever. So the business today, the guys that have left running the business, they're guys who came from those days. Would I honestly retire without that pool of people being there? I'd be very nervous. But we've worked together for 15 years. We've fought hard. They understand the vision of the business. They bring very different skill sets to the table. We've picked the best of each other and whatever it is and things like that. So it's really, you have to do it, and you do it at the foundation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's what happens.
Absolutely. But I'm also curious about these questions of managing partnerships, particularly when we think we've outlived our initial common vision or goal. And I need to transit and keep moving on. I mean, you had a classical example at the point at which three mice was then coming. Would you just want to walk us through that a bit?
Yeah. So that's true. Partnerships do get tested over time, and they will.
Right.
And I think and that happens very often, and it will probably happen a couple of times in the journey of a company. So I think normally within a very short period of time, when partnerships are not aligned, people know. Your staff know, everybody around you kind of knows, and so on and so forth. So it's always this thing. that is unsaid and discussed and so on and so forth, and really begins to eat the company at its soul. And I think the biggest challenge is that then the governance framework of most partnerships, like in 3 Mice, we were the senior leadership team, but we're also the board and so on and so forth. So we did not have a structure that could have navigated that dynamics, because it was really never fundamental. It was like differences in vision. Those could have been navigated, right? Like, remember, this project Serviette was within 3 Mice. Like, it was something that we were doing, and it was something that the business could actually have morphed into and nurtured and really grew. But because of that, then lots of personalities come in, then you're not able to have frank discussions and so on and so forth. So I think building governance early, I think when I came into Serviette, I looked at 5 years. I said, Ken, you've done 5 years, worked very hard. So you've built a company with a fantastic brand, check. You've built blue chip customers,
right?
Check.
Right.
First class talent,
right?
Check. But the business isn't making money,
right?
And then the partnership is rocky. So saying, when I go to Serviette, what am I going to do different?
Right.
Because you can't be in the business of now repeating those same mistakes.
Correct.
5 years is incredibly expensive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Like at the time when I was starting Serviette, I was 29.
Right.
You make another 5-year mistake, you are 35.
Right.
Now you're have significantly less energy.
Absolutely.
So one of the first decisions we made at Serviette was to bring in a chairman. And we were very clear that we needed to bring somebody that all of us partners respected, who really had a very strong interest in us doing well. So they really bought the mission and they were committed to it.
Correct.
And that we all could respect, right? And also who would have no qualms being frank.
Yep.
So, and he's our current chairman today. And so I remember the first time we went out with Bolaji, my co-founder, and chatted with him and said, we'd like to invite you to come into our board. He listened. After it, he just, he said, okay, interesting. He said, look, frankly speaking, I don't really understand where you truly want to go. Because we were talking about money moving on phones, in 2005.
That was, yeah.
Like nobody could imagine
Absolutely.
that. So he said, okay, can I come by and spend an afternoon with your team?
Yep.
But I hope preferably when you guys are not there.
You're not invited to the meeting.
Yeah,
but I want to hang out with your staff.
Yeah. So we were just nervous. We're like, okay.
What is he going to find out?
But you know what? There's something right about that.
Yes.
Right? Like something committed about that.
Right.
So we said, fine. So he did. He spent some time with the guys and whatever it is. Then after, then had coffee with us a couple of days later. He's like, okay. He's like, interesting.
Yeah.
I said, first, you guys have a lot of problems.
Yeah. It's not in doubt.
Yeah, you have no problems. But he said, I was struck by the team that the same vision you articulated to me is the same vision the team articulated to me.
So it's a common vision for all of us.
And the same passion that you guys have is the same passion. And we were a fairly diverse team. We had an Indian girl who was a COO at the time. It's like, hang on, so this Kenyan, Nigerian, Indian, Arab-looking, like this mishmash of this sort of young energy.
Right.
With the same vision. And they're all very smart guys.
Right.
Wow, it's like there's something here. And then these problems they have, okay, I think I can help them.
Right. They're solvable.
Yeah, so he says, okay, they're solvable. And then we said, hey, we'd like to discuss some equity. He said, it's like, not important to me.
You can keep that for now.
Yeah. What is important is that if I can be helpful and you guys can succeed, I think that would be my joy.
Wow.
So then he looked at us and said, so when do we have the first board meeting?
Yeah.
So I quickly said, well, in 30 days. Okay,
yes.
I said, fine, super. Then it's like, okay, so make sure then send me a board pack.
Right.
1 week before the board meeting and then so on.
Right.
And stuff. And yeah. And by the way, he happens to be my dad-in-law. That's another story for another day.
Okay.
So anyway, so So at first I leave when son, I go and Google what's a board pack.
Because you've not even dealt with a board pack before.
You know?
So this is the first time you're actually discussing a board, actually.
Correct, yeah. And this was very early on when we had almost like $10,000 in revenue per month. So anyway, so we 30 days later, so anyway, you know, you are resourceful, you read and you are like, okay, the board pack, financials, whatever it is. And then just even putting together the board pack, there's a sense of honesty that comes to you. It's like, okay, so you have to report your financial position. We have a lot of debt. We have salaries unpaid. You can't not say those things. That's not honest. Not
so you're laying everything on the table.
You lay the thing. I'm like, man, this is so uncomfortable.
Yep. But you face your crucibles at that point.
Yeah, you look at them. So say we send this board pack. Let me tell you, Dennis, we had such a rough board meeting.
Can you imagine?
It was such a rough board meeting.
Right.
So when we walk out of that board meeting, my partner and I went and sat down, have coffee. We just looked at each other. We just said, man, the next board meeting is in 3 months. We are not going to have another meeting like that.
Not like the one we just had.
Yeah, like these problems, we need to get on top of them.
Right.
And solve them.
Right.
Like you can't take the same story.
Right.
We must make substantial progress.
Right.
And let me tell you, Dennis, my board was almost always like that. From the first day down to my last moment, my board was never a comfortable place. It was just always on edge. And I found that because as a founder, who holds you accountable?
Right.
How is your vision?
Right.
You started it from nothing.
Right.
Who is the person who tells you can?
I disagree.
Like, okay, yeah, like,
Yeah.
you're not doing as well as you're telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, great, yeah, but these things,
Yeah.
why are we not, these things, why are they late?
Yep.
Just the fact that for 18 years, and we never missed a board meeting under my chairman. Every quarter.
It had to happen.
Yes. Like clockwork. So from that, the first day, we had all these salaries unpaid and whatever. So you're like 3 months like, man, these problems, we better show progress in this program.
Right.
You get there. Then there's another. So that thing just continuously moves the organization. And because of that, the partnership issues bubble up quickly. Like, the guys are like, okay, you guys, it's like, what? So what's up? So who is exactly responsible for this?
Right.
Both of you? No ways.
It can be both of you.
Yeah.
Who carries the burden?
Who carries the
right.
burden?
Who do we hold the account?
So
right.
the board says, okay, Ken, this is your area, it's your mess, clean it up.
Right. And they're talking to the founder.
So those things basically...
But in effect builds governance as well.
Correct. So partnerships, bad partnerships, will kill the company if there is no surrounding governance structure that holds it together. It's going to die. No question about it.
So at the moment, you have to separate governance from founder and all those things.
Yeah,
Those are two different guys.
Different animals.
This is an institution.
Yeah. You're not the fact that you're a founder does not entitle you to be the end all and be all across every part of the business. Doesn't entitle you to being the best CEO for the business at all times. You can't be the board, right? Like, so as founders, you carry a lot of gravitas.
Right.
And that you will always do.
Right.
Board members, when you dissent on something, board members are very careful. They listen to you very carefully because they say, this guy, there's some things he sees that nobody else can see. So they listen very carefully.
That's why he's a founder vision bearer.
And you'll always carry that.
Right.
But there are some times when you are in your blind spot.
Right.
And somebody needs to rein you in.
Right.
And it's never going to be your management team.
Correct.
Right? You can try. But our African culture, when you are the boss, generally, the honesty of conversation and just upfront conversation just disappear. You can try hard. So the board is actually your go-to guy. They're the guys who just tell you, no, Ken, this one I think, no, we don't agree.
Yeah.
And even if you end up getting your way, you walk out there thinking very hard.
Correct.
And you walk up saying, wow, I'm going to sort of try to fix this thing so that I'm not, if I've gotten my way. And there are times, of course, I tantrum,
Yep.
and you get your way.
Yeah.
But you're a very different guy. I'm like, okay, that one, Now I cannot now go back and tell the stories because everybody's disagreed. I've had my way. I now have got to deliver the results. You think about it very differently, and if it doesn't work, then you also will just take yourself to the table and just say, guys, okay,
You guys are right.
yeah, you guys are right. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah. But I'm wiser now.
I think you are right. Let me fix it. Right?
Yep.
So governance sort
It's
out
critical. Yeah.
partnerships.
I've always been curious. You've run an organization that you birthed 18 years.
Yeah.
And at some point, walk out, no longer the CEO of the organization. What was that moment like, man? And what orchestrated that?
Yeah, look, it was a very difficult journey arriving at that decision. And of course now, sort of sitting here, because it's also close to 1 year since I made that decision. When I look back, it was absolutely the right decision. But when I was in the moment, it was very difficult. So I think I had stopped enjoying the job for a while, and I felt that I was trapped in a point where I wasn't enjoying the job, and I was trapped by circumstances. So from around 2016, Chase Bank was our primary bank, and they collapsed. So they were essentially and that completely took the business to crisis because we are financial services business. Working capital, all of that stuff is super important. So we needed to survive that. For us, actually, as a management team, we went on no salaries for 8 months before Corona in 2016.
Because of the Chase issue.
Yeah. Then after that, I went into fundraising, and it was a very difficult time for the market. So I was in the fundraising in the market for 2 years, fundraising, right? So this is almost 3 years of really sustained pressure. And when fundraising, you're mostly out in the field, you're traveling and so on and so forth. I talked to 60 investors. In the end, we only got one term sheet, one lead investor after 400 presentations, almost 1.5 years out on the road. Then came out of there and then went into 2019. We had a terrorist attack, and at that time we lost six of our leaders.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, could I leave at that time? Was
And
even
I must
my
say,
mind
man,
there?
you guys
Like,
stood
I
as
could
one
not.
through that time, and I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
I came for the service, and I was
correct,
just impressed at how you guys stood together.
Yeah, it was a very difficult time.
Yep.
But also appreciated the strength of character the business had become. So went through that, and 2020 Corona and so on. And then we had another internal crisis in Nigeria at the end of 2020. So I had, in a sense, almost 4 years of sustained
Pressure.
Yeah, and so from my mind, it stretched me to I had nothing more to give. So through that period, so I was trapped because I could not, I couldn't just say, okay, am I? Like I had no, like I could, in 2019, did I have the option to fall over? I couldn't. So going into 2020, I was completely exhausted. And the business needed to, we had gone 10 years providing services to banks. We needed to refresh and renew the business, refocus it. And that requires a lot of energy. So it had become very clear that I think that my role, I think the thing that I must do now, find the energy to turn the ship. But I knew that I do not have the energy to push the ship at the speed it needed to go. That I knew.
Right.
Deep down in my heart. Had I generally processed it that, okay, that means then now I need to hand over the reins? No, those dots did not connect.
Right.
So sometime last year, by a combination of a few things.
Right.
One, our crisis in Nigeria that
Right.
in the end ended up forcing my co-founder out of the business. And a combination of that, combination of my family sort of just, you could see that, they're like, this thing now, we do not want to compete
Yep.
with this business. Like we are, it's, especially after 4 years, 5 years sustained
Yep.
high pressure.
Right.
And remember that before then it was not all rosy, right?
Right.
Like generally it's been a journey of resilience,
Right.
and then now this concentrated pressure.
Right.
So I could tell that my family also just would have wanted me back.
We want a piece of daddy at home. And
Yeah, so combining with my co-founder leaving, a lot of pressure from family, and then me introspecting, just, you know, just finishing that journey of turning. Those three things had became very clear that my time was up. Now, and I remember going out, we went away with the kids, and we discussed, and the kids basically were very clear. Our kids they're all teenagers.
Right.
So now they are part of the board
Yeah.
at home, right? So they were very clear
Yeah.
that I think you probably do better if you leave.
Yep.
Then I went away with my wife. My wife also she was very clear that,
Yeah.
okay, I think
You've run your time.
yeah, you ran your time.
Yep.
We want to be number one on your list again.
Right. Right. We seem to be sliding down.
Yeah,
and-
so so when I was on, I just wrote a note to the board.
Yep.
And just said, man, you know, I think this is my stop.
Right.
And of course there was a lot of worry about what was going to happen, and so I said, no, come down, guys. Since I'm not falling off the sky, I still have a lot of passion for the
Right.
business. Let's work together. Let's work a plan.
Right.
Let's build a plan.
Right.
And whatever it is. So we did.
Yep.
I went through the journey of building a plan. That was also just mentally different, very difficult. Because now you can have it in your head, but now you're starting to put down a plan for leaving, and okay, when do I do, who do I hand over, how do I do that, what's going to be my role, and so on and so forth after that. So you're forced to now think through those things. So we went through that very difficult journey.
Yep.
And then went through the journey. Remember, now we had to turn the ship, otherwise the business was going to stall, to
Right.
begin to
plateau.
slow down.
Yep.
Also, that was very intense, but I enjoyed that journey of reshaping the vision, the direction, and so on and so forth.
Right.
We did that, and then towards early, and then just taking through the senior leadership guys, just discussing, and getting them to settle and comfortable, and so on as I went along, and then eventually stepped out in April, and then so I'd conscious in my mind said, look, for the next 3 months, because we generally meet as a board every month. At least we touch base with the CEO every month. I say for that period, as the acting CEO settled, I'm gonna just listen. I'm not gonna say anything. That was incredibly difficult because you listen to these guys in the management team. You're like, these guys, everybody thinks that they're doing well. Like, what the hell? That project, that thing. That is not going well. That is a hot fire.
Right.
Nobody seems to be thinking that thing is but then I was so determined to give them a voice, get them to settle.
Yep.
And so on. So that was difficult. Right. But I went through it anyway, and now I found equilibrium.
Right.
So I sound like, okay, they're still messing up where they're in a couple of very critical areas.
Right.
But I think now I'm able to now engage them. Just ask questions, right?
Right.
So that then it's not, if I was me, I'd have done it like this and whatever it is, and say, hey guys, what do you think? Do you guys think is a problem? How big is it? Okay, what do you think?
Yep.
How are you going to approach it?
Right.
It's very different. So it's only now that I've done that tone.
Yep.
But actually, a lot of that has been informed by the fact that I'm actually doing that for other CEOs.
Right.
Right. With the thing that I'm doing.
Right.
And now coaching other businesses
Right.
with my wife. So
Right.
that's how. So I've been trained actually to engage my management team in a very different way through the work I'm doing.
Right.
Which is fantastic.
Right.
So all in all, I'm sleeping a bit better because there's less pressure because I'm not on the hot seat.
Yep.
I still have to worry a bit because all my wealth is there. Right?
Yep.
All my wealth is in cellular and shares. Right?
Yeah.
I have no plots, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have any shares.
It's all invested in there.
Anywhere else in the stock market.
Right.
All my wealth is on cellular. So I have to worry about that.
Right.
But because we built such a fundamental, nice culture, company is very resilient, governance structure, it is well capitalized, strong shareholders.
Right. But you're still sitting on the board still.
I still sit on the board, and I've got a very small stake, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you build a business that attracts $80 million in financing,
right?
You have a very small, but
it's a bigger company.
It's a much bigger company,
right?
So it's all in all been a very interesting journey, I know, as we conclude.
Right. Yeah, and actually as we bring there, so now that you're not actively running Cellulant, What is Ken up to nowadays, man? And how is Ken serving
Yes.
Africa, the very Africa he believes in?
Yeah, I still have a love for Africa.
Yep.
So this is what this is essentially my next mission for a long time to come.
Right.
Is to say, okay, if I look at my journey, there are lots of mistakes I made, lots of learnings. And frankly speaking, some of those mistakes were almost fatal. So sometimes I always, I tend to figure then that, no, surely there must be a reason why God allowed me to survive, right? Like and so now I'm like, okay, so, could we maybe improve the success rate of African entrepreneurs by like in real life, sitting with them, watching their journeys and coaching them to avoid some of the mistakes we made.
Right.
To confront some of the problems very early,
Right.
to see some of the opportunities a little bit faster.
Correct.
And just be there in between the board. The board, of course, if you have a good board, they do that.
Right.
But very, very few companies have good boards.
Right.
But even when you have a good board, I always say even a good board is somewhat 1 year behind the most critical problems in the business.
Right.
Because the board is not, it's a tough place. Like my board was tough,
Yep.
always.
Yep.
So it was not exactly safe. Like it was not one of those places I go and say, man, I'm really struggling with this problem here. Even though the guys want to be helpful and so on. So I'm hoping that I can be that partner.
Yep.
In that way for some of the businesses that will become the cellulants of the next 10 years, 20 years.
Right.
So I'm coaching founders and founder teams,
Right.
just through their journey.
Right.
So the last, I've spent time with about 32 teams, selected about 5.
Right.
And it's mutual, right? Like there's got to be a click.
Right.
Two really large ones and 2 small ones, but mostly startups. So I came to the realization, like, do I want to sit in the board of a bank or a telco or what? No, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like that's not my.
That's not
how I add my value to the world.
Right.
But these businesses that are like cellulants or can grow 4 times, 5 times because they just avoid a couple of the big mistakes.
Right.
That's fantastic. So that's what I'm doing, and then also just invest. Some of the smaller ones also just investing in them
Yeah.
and doing that. So that's super, super important. The
Yep.
second thing that I want to do, even as I do that, is to make sure that at the end of their journey, that those businesses have a lot more African capital than is available today. So if I look at cellulants, most of 80% of our capital came from the US and Europe and so on. So it means that, when Cellulant lists or, somebody buys Cellulant for $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion sometime in the future, 80% of that wealth will ship out of the continent.
Right.
And so I want to become an advocate for that, for the cellulants of the future, that at least 50% of that capital comes from the continent, and therefore the 5, 6, 10 billion dollars that we can create in wealth by supporting those businesses actually comes back to the continent.
Right.
And normally when it comes back to the continent, just like me, my money, where is my money going? I'm not investing it in land. Like
Right.
I don't know, so I'm investing it in other startups. And so you can imagine if you do that, then we are just catalyzing an entire generation
Absolutely.
of really world-class entrepreneurs for the continent.
Right.
That's what we need.
Fantastic, man. So if I wanted to be mentored, man, and I know there are a couple of viewers who want to be mentored, who want to be coached, their businesses and all of that, how do we get in touch with Ken?
Yeah, look, I'm always very open for a first conversation, I say.
Yeah.
It's like, even over a coffee conversation, you can always point out 1 or 2 or so areas. So I always say, first meeting, always, we will find time to make it happen.
Right.
Second meeting becomes incredibly difficult because then for it to be effective, for the coaching model to be effective, you really need immerse and so on and so forth. So just the practical nature is I can only immerse in a few at a time. But once in a while you do come across entrepreneurs. When you look at what entrepreneurs are doing, the progress they are making, the speed at which they are moving, you're like, man, I just need to find time for this one. Like I do, there's one business, it's a catering business. It's not my area. I'm investing in technology and whatever it is. But this one we invested and we put all our time, because man, you look at the entrepreneur and I'm like, this one we need to help to succeed.
Right. Driven completely.
So I say first meeting,
Yeah.
almost 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
That we'll have a first meeting. Second meeting, then
there are variables to
you
it.
got to earn it.
Yeah. You're going to have to earn it.
You got to earn it,
Yeah.
because there's only one of me, and
Right.
there's competition for that time. That's
Right.
just the thing.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Great.
No, I think that passion for Africa, just to say I can invest back, both in terms of time, sharing my experiences, for some of them investing in them.
Yeah.
I think it's just brilliant, man.
Yeah, it's a journey. I'm enjoying it a lot.
You're enjoying it.
Absolutely.
1 year later, looking at Cellulant, you're proud of what the team that is out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the team. I think they'll do great things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, you said you're in how many countries for Cellulant?
18.
18
Offices in 18, serving customers in 35 countries.
35 countries. And a
Yeah.
staff base of?
450.
Man.
Yeah.
On a vision that was initially on
On a Serviette.
On a Serviette.
Yeah,
From a Serviette
Yeah, and with no money.
to 35 countries,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating, man. Ken, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dennis, for
Man,
the
these
opportunity to
lessons
share.
are absolutely invaluable.
Yeah.
Absolutely invaluable. And if you can inspire one guy,
Just one.
just
That's-
one.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes I'm not
always
even
good
looking for
enough.
two, man. Just
Yeah,
one guy
yeah,
that
that's
becomes
always
the
enough.
next Ken.
That's always enough.
Absolutely, man.
Super.
Yeah, and thank
All
you
right.
so much for your time, and well done on the new venture.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I'll also enroll and see whether I can get some mentorship. man.
Absolutely,
The first
yes.
one is guaranteed. You said the second one I've got to earn, man.
Yes. And this was meeting one.
I hope I merited for the second one, man.
Okay.
Wow,
Thanks,
thank you,
Dennis.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, man.
All right.
Well, folks, I hope you picked a lot out of this conversation, man. I mean, this is one of those conversations I want to encourage you. Just go back and listen, pick a notebook and just write a couple of those notes. It's been many things, it's been diverse things, but that is what it takes to build a gold mine that you are. That is what it takes to build success. Success is patient. It is a long-term journey. It is not a sprint, but you've got to put your heart, soul, man. I had matters of partnerships, almost likened to a marriage partner, man. Good stuff, man. This is almost 23 years of a journey. It was 5 at 3 Mice and 18 at Cellulant, plus a couple more mans, man. You don't get this kind of stuff anywhere else, but right here on the Goldmine Show. And the reason we do this, we keep reminding you, is because we see greatness inside of you, and we want to keep bringing you guys and folks that have taken this journey and continue to give you inspirational conversations, but indeed also the real conversations of what it takes to convert it from the latent potential it is to the gold mine that you truly, truly are. Want to invite you to follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on Instagram. And let's continue building the great community of the gold mines that we truly are. And until next time, God bless you. Keep becoming the greatness that you are. You can't quit on you. We're not quitting on you. We cheer you on and remind you, you're a gold mine, my friend. Go ahead and become everything that you're meant to be. And take a moment and listen to what Njoroge had to say. Until next time, God bless you. See you, and keep being the greatness that you truly are.